$125 billion. That is how much money flows into India every year. Not from trade, not from corporations, but from something far more personal. It comes from sons and daughters, thousands of miles from home, who never stop taking care of the people they love. This is the story of the Indian diaspora, the largest family scattered across the world in the truest sense of the word. And it is also the story of the countries that welcomed them: the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, the UAE, and so many more. Nations that gave them a chance to build something new without asking them to forget where they came from. There are more Indians living outside India than the entire population of Canada. They are doctors in London, engineers in Toronto and Vancouver, traders in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, nurses in Melbourne and Sydney, professors in California and Boston, software architects in Singapore, engineers in Frankfurt and Munich, each one carrying two flags in their heart. And here is something beautiful: the countries they moved to did not ask them to choose. Each one became a second home without erasing the first. Even smaller communities carry the same quiet devotion. This is not just a migration story. It is a story of many nations holding the same person with equal love. Let's talk about the number that opened this episode: remittances. Every year, Indians abroad send home more money than the GDP of most small nations, and every rupee carries a story. A mother's cataract surgery paid for by a son working in Riyadh. A sister's wedding funded from a daughter's savings in New Jersey. A nephew's first year of engineering college made possible by an uncle in Auckland. This is what makes the Indian diaspora different from almost any other in the world. Distance never weakened the bond, it deepened it. And the countries they now call home made this possible, each one giving one person's hard work the power to change an entire family's life back in Kerala, Punjab, or Gujarat. That is not just remittance, that is many nations quietly working together through the life of one person. But this story is bigger than personal wealth. Because the Indian diaspora hasn't just supported their own families, they have helped shape the destiny of an entire nation. In the late 1990s and 2000s, it was Indian engineers in Silicon Valley, men and women who once studied under streetlights, who helped put India on the global technology map, building the reputation that turned Bangalore into a software powerhouse. Doctors trained in AIIMS and government medical colleges went on to lead hospitals in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. And many of them returned, bringing world-class medical knowledge back to Indian hospitals and research institutions. When India needed capital to grow, it was non-resident Indians who were often the first to invest in Indian bonds, Indian startups, and India's growing stock market, showing confidence in the country before the rest of the world caught on. During moments of national crisis, floods in Kerala, earthquakes in Gujarat, the pandemic itself, it was the diaspora from Houston to Melbourne to Manchester who mobilized funds within hours, sometimes faster than institutions could. Today, Indian origin CEOs lead some of the world's most powerful companies, and every single one of them carries India's name into boardrooms most Indians will never enter. This is the quiet truth about the Indian diaspora. They didn't just leave to build a life abroad. In doing so, without ever needing to be asked, they became one of India's greatest assets on the world stage. And here is the other half of this story, one that deserves just as much recognition. The Indian diaspora didn't just take opportunity from the countries that welcomed them. They gave back and built alongside them. In the United States, Indian origin professionals now lead some of the most valuable companies on earth. Google, Microsoft, Adobe, driving innovation that shapes how the entire world works, communicates, and creates. In the United Kingdom, Indian origin doctors and nurses have been the backbone of the National Health Service for generations. And Indian-origin entrepreneurs have created thousands of jobs for British citizens of every background. In Canada, Indian immigrants have filled critical gaps in healthcare, technology, and skilled trades, helping power the growth of cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Brampton into some of the most dynamic economic hubs in North America. In the United Arab Emirates, Indian workers and professionals were among the very hands that built the modern skyline of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And today, Indian business leaders operate some of the largest private enterprises in the entire Gulf region. In Australia and Singapore, Indian talent fills vital roles in medicine, education, and finance, strengthening healthcare systems and financial sectors that millions of local citizens depend on every day. This is what makes the Indian diaspora truly remarkable. They are not guests borrowing opportunity. In America, in Britain, in Canada, in the Gulf, and beyond, they have become builders, taxpayers, innovators, and neighbors. Nation builders in every place they've called home. 2 nations, 1 person. And in almost every case, both nations are stronger because that person chose to give their best to both. Here's what makes this moment genuinely exciting. The world is opening up in beautiful new ways. Indians are building new lives in Australia, Germany, Ireland, New Zealand, and Japan. Countries offering fresh opportunities, warm communities, and growing Indian diasporas of their own. At the same time, India is opening its doors wider than ever to the wealth and wisdom of its global citizens. Whether they're in the Gulf, in Europe, in North America, or across Southeast Asia. Digital-first investment platforms, NRI-specific financial products, a homeland actively building bridges back to its people. This is a rare moment in history. Many economies growing together through the lives of the people who belong to more than one of them. And every Indian abroad who learns to navigate this well isn't just building personal wealth, they're strengthening the bridge for both nations they call home. $125 billion a year isn't just a statistic, it's millions of quiet acts of love. People building a future in one country while never letting go of the one that raised them, and lifting both nations higher in the process. You don't have to choose between your 2 homes. You just have to understand how to honor both of them wisely. For many NRIs, from Houston to Dubai to Sydney, the most emotional financial decision they will ever make. A plot of land in the village, an apartment in the city they grew up in. Not just an investment, a promise to themselves that home will always be there to return to. And thankfully, India today is more transparent, more digital, and more accountable for property buyers than it has ever been before. New reforms, verified property registries, and legal protections now exist specifically to protect NRIs making this leap of faith. With the right knowledge, this dream, the one so many NRIs carry quietly in their hearts, from the Gulf to North America to the Pacific, is more achievable and more secure than it has ever been. Thanks for watching Wealth Chronology. See you on the next video.